Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode this week with Richard Lizama. Hi Richard, welcome back.
Hey Vasco.
So Richard, on Wednesdays we of course dive into change and what that means for us as Scrum Masters, because at the end of the day we need to be dealing with change all the time, whether it's individual, team level, organizational level, whatever that might be. So take a minute and tell us the story of one of those change processes that you were involved with. Walk us through how it happened, from the beginning, step by step, how it happened. But also take some time to highlight the tips, the tricks, the tools, the techniques you learned back then that you still use today.
Definitely. The reason why I hesitate like that is because I feel like I have to cover my career a little bit. Like I went from a Scrum Master to a manager of Scrum Masters. And in between that, I learned that I was mentoring Scrum Masters and not really even knowing it. And I went into a call with one of the C-level folks of our company. And she said, she told a story. And what I gained from that was this. She said, the peer mentor relationship is something that's helped me out more than anything else in my career. And I thought about my journey from day one as a Scrum Master to at that point. And I thought, yes, I have more interaction with my peers and I bounce more ideas off of them than I did my manager or even my Scrum coach. So I thought to myself, we're going to start that right now. And if I ever become a manager or somebody who was in charge of training, I'm going to officially start that. Then I'm going to put that as something that we do. So those things happen. I was already mentoring folks and I became a manager, well, not a manager, but somebody who was in charge of the training curriculum. And I thought, we're going to do that right now. The reason why was because I remember where I was at when I first started and I had zero guidance other than a sync meeting every once in a while or seeking out my manager or some development team members like, hey, how am I doing? What's going on? Where do I go? What do I do? And then we, and it all just kind of, I got better from there by asking all those questions. So I thought, what I'm going through right now, I do not want any new hires that come on going forward to have to go through that same thing. So I always kept that in mind. And it is always about what can I do best for those that come after me. And we started hiring new Scrum Masters a lot. And I put together like this peer mentoring program where you would, throughout your whole onboarding process, you would be with another Scrum Master. And that person would help you get all of your access to tools in place. They would help you get your meetings in order, and you would sync with them every day in a safe space to say, hey, here's what I went through today. And do you have any advice? And I started it with me. I was mentoring two at the time. And those little syncs that we were having, where we were talking about what we went through each day, even from my perspective as the, I know in title we were peers, but I'd been there a little bit longer. But by bouncing those ideas off of each other, we really, really changed the way that the Scrum Masters were trained going forward. And so it went from kind of sink or swim to, hey, let's go through this 3 or 4 week program before you even meet any of your teams. And then we will build you up for success to where you're going to feel confident going into these meetings with your teams. I guess what I left out of that was like a lot of the way we brought in Scrum Masters before was you come on, you meet your teams immediately, they start asking you questions and you're really not that confident in yourself to answer those questions. And thus the sink or swim. That was the feeling. So we were able to teach the Scrum Masters, the new Scrum Masters, the Scrum Guide, give them recommended reading materials, teach them the why behind what we are doing. And we were able to give them confidence. And so that was in contrast with, how I started out. And I always wanted to change that.
So it seems to me that one of the things that you did was by listening to what you and other, of course, reflecting on what you went through and listening to other colleagues' experience, you got then inspired by that executive to put in place something concrete to help at that point even yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? It sounds to me also that you had a good experience with your coach, the Agile coach that was working with you, and that also kind of shaped your understanding of how to onboard Scrum Masters. Is that how it happened?
Yes, all of those things. Working with the coach, we had a coach for a little while, and then we didn't. So what I had to take out of that was, okay, what did they teach me that I could pass along to those that come after me? And for me, the whole time, I just remember thinking the expected outcome I want out of this is to build them confidence to where when new Scrum Masters come in, then the ones that we just mentored and trained are going to take that and apply it to the new Scrum Masters, to where it allows this cycle of good training for Scrum Masters to happen. And again, this makes most sense when you kind of realize the way we were hiring Scrum Masters, where it was a area of which our philosophy was, we can take you in at the junior or associate level, and all we need from you is to have great soft skills, because that's hard to teach. We can teach Scrum and we can teach the why in Scrum, but I know people, we've all probably met somebody in our lives that, that soft skills take years to develop. And so,
and not everybody's even interested in it.
Correct. Yeah. And communication is something that we need you to be good at. So if I were, let's say I was doing agile transformation at another company, I'm probably a little biased, but the way that we brought Scrum Masters in, I thought was pretty groundbreaking. And I thought that we were able to build a really good crew of Scrum Masters because of their soft skills and being really, really strong in that.
Yeah, and then through the mentorship, kind of walking them through understanding the context, figuring out, getting their bearings on the organization, and then giving them support with the actual practices of Scrum. And you called it the peer-mentor relationship. I think that's a good way to describe it, right? It is about not being alone when you get into a new organization.
Right. How many times have any of us, even myself, it's you get a new job and it's like, all right, see you in a couple of weeks, we'll check in. And there's nothing,
you got any trouble.
Yeah. And look, there's probably more companies that do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I know how I felt, and I know that it's like, okay, at the very bare minimum, I could have somebody just kind of let me know that I'm doing all right. And
absolutely.
but we just took it levels and levels up from there, and it's still evolving. But yeah, being able to teach, and it benefits the mentor, like the person that's been there a little bit longer, in that being able to teach something to somebody new, you grasp, or you wrap your head around it in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, there's the learning from the teaching, but then also learning from the listening, and you get both.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great story of how to put together an onboarding program for Scrum Masters. Thank you for sharing that, Richard.
Thanks.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.